Well, the 2023 general election is set to be one of the most keenly contested elections in Nigeria since return to democracy, with an additional 10 million new registered voters in the coffers of the Independent National Electoral Commission, pushing the total number of registered voters to more than 95 million. The stakes are now very high, with a focus on the presidential election that's scheduled to hold on February the 25th next year. Some factors already playing out might likely set the tone for the outcome of the vote. So far, Nigerians have been debating on issues ranging from religion as well as region, also competence and capacity to take tough decisions at these troubling times. We have joining us now Dr. Daniel Boala. He's a lawyer and the spokesperson for the presidential campaign of the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar. Dr. Boala, good morning. Thanks for joining us. You're coming in. You're joining us from the UK. It's good to have you join us. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me. And greetings to everyone in the studio.
Good morning.
Absolutely.
Good morning.
So as you enter in now as the spokesperson of the Atiku presidential campaign, what are you bringing to the campaign?
Right. So thank you for having me. As a spokesperson to the campaign, what I'm bringing is like the role of a salesman to come and sell the candidate and his experience to the Nigerian people, to highlight on his strength and to tell the Nigerian people that at this critical time that we are in, he is the most qualified person to be voted for when the campaign comes heading into the election to bring us out of the woods. It is also my duty to ensure that I sell the party, the platform upon which he's contesting to become president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is also my duty to highlight on his program, which is also anchored on the philosophy of the party. And in doing so, it is my duty and responsibility to ensure that I do that with decorum, respect to the press, respect to the Nigerian people, and as much as possible, honest with the Nigerian people. We have seen in the last few days, the other political party spokesperson, they have turned the press into a punching bag. I had to do a video where I call on the press not to be intimidated because it is my understanding that the press are the fourth step of the realm. They have every right to ask questions howsoever they want on behalf of the Nigerian people. If they ask any question that we feel is born out of mischief, it is our duty to politely bring those contexts and perspective to them and let them understand. But on no account should the conduct of a spokesperson be such that you find yourself confronting or in a confrontation with the members of the press to the point where you are alleging that the press are biased. That is not good for the polity because we go ahead of the candidate, and it is how we conduct ourselves that will tell whether the election is going to be fine or not. These are my duties. But if you would like me to also go ahead and talk about what the programs are, I'll be happy to do that.
All right, we'll get to that in due course.
Boala, you are now a member of PDP, and suddenly you became a member, you were a member of APC, and suddenly you became a member of PDP. And just as you became a member of PDP, you were announced a spokesperson. Tell us, were you not already a fifth columnist in APC before you became a member of PDP? Because you just joined the party and then they gave you a position. So were you negotiating when you were a member of APC to become something in PDP before you switched there? Because it is not easy for you to just move from another party to an established party like the PDP, and suddenly, boom, they make you one of their chieftains. Please explain to us.
Thank you, Mr. Omesai. This is one of those questions that I feel the press are not helping the polity when they push it forward rather than the issues that we're confronted with. However, I'm happy to answer the questions anyway. So this is my answer to the question. Number one, a political party has a right to change ideology. Members of the political party have a right to change political party. Just in the same way that every candidate running for post in Nigeria today has had to change a political party. Just in the same way that the voters could vote a particular political party and they feel disappointed, they will switch and vote to another in the next election. Just in the same way that all of us who are married today probably may have had relationships that we thought was going to work for us, and we invested ourselves into it. It didn't work. We changed our mind, moved forward, and we're now married to our spouses, and we're married happily. Just in the same way that the spokesperson of the other political party said egregious and incendiary words during the primaries when they were campaigning for a candidate other than the flag bearer, when I was supporting the flag bearer. And at the end of the day, the kinds of languages and talking points they raised against him, I don't even in PDP feel comfortable talking about it as a reason, because to me it's mundane. But today, they are his spokesperson. All of these examples I gave you is to suggest to you that in life, we have a reason to change at any given time where our ideological beliefs are now working in separate direction. Secondly, as to the immediate appointment as soon as I joined the party, this again tells you how effective PDP is and how ineffective APC is. PDP, all these years I have been defending APC. I don't think you assume that PDP are not watching me. And I don't think you assume that just because I was bashing PDP, they did not know of my usefulness. If I come right to TVC station tomorrow morning and I say I want to work in television, I can guarantee you I will get an automatic job in TVC. Why? Because TVC must have assessed my performance over the years and must have come to that conclusion. There is a difference between somebody joining a party who is not known anywhere and given a position, and somebody who has been effectively performing and people can see and assess, and they get that job. That shows that PDP is more rewarding, and PDP is a party with equal opportunity and a party that does not have any limitation. It is also possible that because of the way APC is screwed in their mentality to think that in life, our progress is dependent on take a queue, take a queue. When you come, they say you have to take a queue. Therefore, they will think when you come to the PDP, you should join a queue. In other words, PDP rather is looking at people that bring performance to the table, people that bring things that will change and add value to what they do. And even if you had come in the morning or in the afternoon, there will be a place for you to participate. And above all, Mr. Masai, in politics, it's a game. If somebody if a striker in Arsenal, for example, a prolific striker in Arsenal is so effective, and the striker in Arsenal said he's going to leave Arsenal Football Club, and Manchester United feels that that striker is very useful, I'm telling you that Manchester United would not say we're going to buy him and put him in the bench. They will go for it to buy him and ensure that they put him on the striking position. So there was never a pre-negotiation on my behalf. Let me also tell you, Mr. Omasai, when I left the APC before I joined PDP, I got a call while I was in England from a former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that I've never had a conversation with. And he asked me to come and help him in building a political party other than this PDP I've gone to. I have never had any call from him. Assuming I obeyed him and I went, immediately I would have gotten the same position, and then you will be wondering why I got it suddenly.
Yes. Just as a follow-up, you said that everybody is right to change ideologies. What ideology did you change to from APC to PDP? I want you to explain. Now, you gave the metaphor of Arsenal and Man U. That is a transaction. That is transactional decision. That's nothing to do with any other thing than transaction. Did you move from APC to PDP because of a transaction?
Very good question. You see, transaction can be monetary and can be non-monetary. Transaction can be value-based, irrespective of money. I am a legal practitioner, and I know that a gift can be handed to somebody and a document will be signed as a transaction, and yet there is no money exchange. So let's get that one clear. But with respect to the first point you talk about ideology, APC, fundamentally, whether they say it in words or not, by action, APC tilts towards a socialist leaning. And that is why in its core objective, you see social investment program in the front burner. And a socialist ideology is built on the premise that the society is poor, and therefore you need government intervention in virtually everything you do. When I supported APC, I did that because I thought, just like the way the president said, that Nigerian people are so poor that you need to first lift them out of poverty before you get to the next stage. But we noticed that all through these years of social investment, most of this intervention of government have ended up in private pockets. During the COVID, when we had this COVID intervention, money was raised from government, from foreigners and the rest. We saw how the COVID materials were stocked and hoarded in different parts of the country. And I can tell you, I can go on and on in that regard to tell you how the social interventions have not impacted on the lives of the people in a comprehensive way. On the other hand, the ideology of PDP is anchored on free enterprise, on growing the economy, on capitalism, if I will use the word. So they believe that the government should stop interfering in private affairs and allow market activities to be free, and that if government has to intervene, it should be responsible. Government should, as much as possible, give tax rebate, tax incentive. Government should allow small and medium enterprise to thrive. These are fundamentally the issues. So when I left, and then most importantly, because it is that part of ideology that had me change, diversity. APC over the years have not demonstrated diversity in its operation. If you go to the party, there are certain things you couldn't get. And a good example is what you have just talked about. How that I suddenly moved and I got an appointment in PDP. Then the question begs for why didn't I get it in APC? Thankfully, the presidential candidate of APC even offered that to me. But I still had to go because the decision they made to balance the ticket, the decision they make on the ticketing touched on my core belief about diversity. Diversity is a nation where every tribe, religion, and whatever differences that the people have are considered as differences, and then we manage them for the common good of all. I felt that in a country where you have the religions cut across almost half-half, 80 million Nigerians will feel they are not a part of the government when you're forming a ticket of a Muslim ticket. So when they did that, I felt, and I was going to be made a spokesperson, I felt I cannot be a marketer or salesperson of an idea that I do not subscribe to. And on the basis of this diversity, which I felt was not entrenched in APC, I decided to move to PDP, that is fundamentally known as a party that encouraged unity in diversity and encouraged the promotion of national unity. You see, Mr. Omasai, when you hear somebody say, I bear true faith and allegiance to the flag and the republic, it is a statement you make that you can die for the republic only if the republic can convince you that you're living in a nation where your right, your interests, and your life will be protected. We need a government that encourages diversity. It is on the premise of that that I moved from APC to PDP, in addition to the fact that APC, even 7-8 years now, has not been able to perform, but rather has performed so poorly. Yesterday, Avash from World Bank said that Nigeria is moving towards an existential path if we do not reform our tax system, if we continue to borrow to pay for debt, and if we do not revamp our economy and remove subsidy. This is a World Bank. When you talk about insecurity, there is no part of this country where there is safety for people to live in, to raise their families, to do business, or to go to school. Our economy is impacted by even education. Our people are on strike, and a spokesman for the other party said that there is nothing the government can do. People should go and beg them. In fact, when he was asked about
Daniel,
insecurity, right, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, the point is, we have seen a document that has circulated regarding the programs that Atiku, President Atiku, or the PDP presidential candidate will be.
No, you're right, President Atiku. Go ahead.
Well, there was a slip of tongue. The point there is, nobody has been declared president yet.
Elections
now, but the point there is, there was a document that circulated at the time. But for those who have not seen that document sometime, what are the specifics? What is your candidate bringing on the table for Nigerians for Nigerians to prefer him over other candidates?
I love this question. That is, in fact, I feel the way to go in the polity, to discuss issues and what the people bring to the table. Because ultimately, the Nigerian people will vote only if they know what you bring to the table. Like, for example, in security, one of the presidential candidates was asked what he has as a plan in the area of security. He said he would not reveal it. when he gets there, Nigerians will know. How can they vote when they don't know what you bring to the table? The other candidate, when they asked the other candidate that why is his manifesto not out for people to begin to see, the spokesman said the man himself is a manifesto. That the man is a manifesto. So do we now go to pilgrimage and be looking at him? Now, let me bring you back to what Atiku has for Nigeria. We have 5 major components of his covenant with the Nigerian people. He has one, to provide qualitative education for the Nigerian people. I'll break it in a moment. He also believed in restructuring of the polity to foster unity and diversity. He also believed in building and driving a very strong and viral economy for the prosperity of all. The fourth one, he wants to ensure safety and security of the life and property of the Nigerian people. And the fifth one, he wants to restore unity in diversity. So let me tell you briefly, for example, I have just touched a part of unity in diversity, which is what he believes. Now, let me tell you about education. You see, education drives economy. Education is a leading component in economic development in every country. There are countries of the world today, they do not have natural resources, but they have a knowledge-based economy that is anchored on knowledge. The people had access to education, and they read courses that are problem-solving. Atiku Abubakar wants to introduce in education sector a problem-solving ideas, where, for example, the federal government will not be barged into activities of education that the state will do. However, the federal government will politely and guidely and wisely guide the states in developing a curriculum that is problem-solving. In our schools today, we study courses that we end up not using it in life. We follow the UK type education where you just read something for reading's sake. In America, right from toddlership, they try to teach the child to understand how to solve a problem. All through their schools in America, they are tailored for problem solving. So our education must be revamped. Schools must be given incentives. I mean, we must develop a strategy where schools, government schools, for example, will be built in such a way that they will be competitive with private schools. But we will encourage more of private schools because we believe that any sector that is privately managed, usually there is efficiency and effectiveness and accountability. And anything that government is driving or leading, you will discover that most of the times administrative bottleneck and corruption does not allow that school to function. So, for example, Atiku Abubakar has a private university. Not a single day have they gone on strike. But you see the government universities are all on strike, and the government has no answer. Now, these people who have been away for 6 months, remember, this youth, if unguided, they have the propensity or tendency to gravitate towards crime. And before you know, they are involved in all sorts of crime. We believe that education is critical to economic development. The second one is he believes in restructuring. This is that part of our polity that people are afraid to bring. We have had conversation. I was a consultant for the Constitutional Review. I remember when I brought a lot of proposals in relation to restructuring. We sat as consultants. We later brought some of our recommendations to the National Assembly member. And I can tell you from experience, people are afraid to delve into restructuring. Atiku said that we can never advance as a country if we do not recognize the realities we are confronted with now and begin to face the issue of restructuring. He's looking at restructuring the police system so that we have multi-layer policing system.
All right. Dr. Bwala, allow me to come in, please. Dr. Bwala, apologies for the interruption, but we will soon have to end this conversation because of time constraints. But two things now, crop up or come up for me now from what you have said. Valid points, by the way, but then the PDP had led for 16 years. Why didn't they bring all this up then? And we've spoken about ASU strike, which the PDP-led government at the time also recorded. And of course, the issue of restructuring was also a topical issue even then. We didn't have that. Why? And then you've spoken about unity in diversity, which was your benchmark, so to speak, for leaving the APC. In the PDP, the national chairman is a northerner. Atiku Abubakar is a northerner as well. So how do you want to defend that?
The chairman is a northerner. And there is a...
Right. So because you have asked about 5 issues and with a limited time, I will just give you pungent answers to them. I ordinarily would have given comprehensive, but I'll give pungent answers. And let me start with the last one. When you talk about BOT chairman, the national chairman, the flag bearer, there is an understanding by the party, both by the APC, the Northern Caucus of PDP and the Southern Caucus, and as well as the party as a structure, that once Atiku wins and becomes the president, the national chairman will step aside as the national chairman, and there is no debate about that. And then coming to the point, the second point, you said that if PDP had led for 15 years and strike were conducted for 15 years. Over the period of time that PDP led government and in which there were strikes, you can ask Comrade Adams Oshomole, who is APC spokesperson and the chairman, and he would tell you that there were productive engagement with labor. The engagement were quite frank and very, very resourceful and productive. Imagine a spokesman coming to the TV to say that the request by these people is baseless. Their demands will not be granted. People should go and beg them. That shows lack of skills, even in negotiation. And even in the PDP days where there were strikes, Mr. Omosaye is a veteran politician. And I'm sure
not a politician, please.
Correct, I mean, a veteran journalist. My apologies. Veteran journalist.
He meant to say journalist.
Veteran journalist. He must know that the engagement of government in those times and the engagement of government this time clearly shows that they were more matured in dealing with strikers at the time than now. Then you also mentioned about 3 other elements. You see, you rumpled them. I can't remember. Yeah, you talked on this. Can you refresh
restructuring?
My memory?
You were the one that brought up the issue of restructuring, and then I only asked as a follow-up why that Nigerians didn't have that when the PDP led.
Right.
Earlier.
So it's an evolution. In 1999, we came into power, and rather than saying we inherited this, we inherited that, PDP went straight and began to attack issues. Obasanjo was all over the map, seeking debt cancellation. Atiku was in charge, developing a broad-based approach to opening up the economy. He sat as the chair of the privatization. We had the telecom explosion that has created jobs that till date, no any other sector of the economy has competed with that. He also managed diversity in terms of intergovernment relationship between the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, which is not being managed now. And then in terms of restructuring, every bit of the National Assembly engagement at the time, as soon as issues come up, they are trashed in a manner that the Nigerian people believe that there was engagement in the National Assembly, but not throwing them through the window. But to cap it all off, Jonathan was the last president under PDP. He had the courage and the boldness to constitute a constitutional conference of some sort, where they developed a broad-based recommendation for the restructuring of the country. And when he handed over to Buhari, was it implemented?
He himself did not. He had enough time to implement it. He didn't even started. He even wasn't interested.
He implemented about 4.
He wasn't interested in implementing it. But the question I want to ask you, the question I want to ask you,
came at the twilight of the election.
Sorry, Bola. The question I want to ask you is this: you said that you people are now the party is now pro-North, and that if Atiku wins, then they will go back. So you want to do the wrong thing first. Hold on, let me finish my question. You want to do the wrong thing. Hold on, that's what you said. You said there's an agreement between the North and the South.
I never said the party is pro-North.
You said the party, no. You said the party, there's an agreement between the North and the South that if Atiku wins, then the chairman will go down. So you want to do the wrong thing first. Hold on, let me finish my question. I'm quoting you right.
The party is a pro-North.
That is it. You have your BOT chairman is not. Your BOT chairman is not, your presidential candidate is not, your party chairman is not, the other positions too, they are not announced. That's why Wike has said that your party, his own party, is pro-North. My question is, you said that there's an agreement between the North of the party and the South of the party that if Atiku wins, they will go South. They will remove the chairman. Now the question is, you want to do the wrong thing first, so as to do the right thing later. Answer that question.
Okay, the answer is very simple, because APC is afraid that we are already on course to winning election. They want
answer the question. Answer your question about PDP,
That's what I'm answering.
not APC.
That's what I'm answering. Can you permit me to answer the question?
Yes,
but
you have to answer my question.
What do you want me to answer? So put
the question. The question is: are you doing the wrong thing first by saying that okay, we'll be pro-North now, and then later we can now become pro-South or pro-national? Because you said...
Which one is the wrong thing? Which one is the wrong thing?
Because why do you want to change the chairman if he was supposed to be there in the first place? You said if Atiku wins, the chairman will step down.
The answer is simple, because before the primaries, there was no presidential candidate. So the national chairman was a northerner. If Wike had won, this conversation would not have arisen. And because Atiku has now won, it now begs the question whether they will continue in government as that or they will change. And they agree that after election, if he wins, the other man will drop. What is wrong about the question?
But why can't he drop now? Because members of your party are saying he should drop, but they just have said so. Wike's people have said so. They said he can step down. Why can't he step down now that the presidential candidate is now a northerner? There's nothing wrong with stepping down now. Why can't he step down now?
He's not stepping down until after election. What can APC
Oh,
do?
that's right. You get what I'm saying. You want to do the wrong thing first and then do the right thing later.
That is, you see, that's your definition of the wrong thing. And I just explained to you that before the presidential primaries, there was no presidential candidate. It was the national chairman. If Wike had won, this conversation will not have arisen.
That's what I'm saying.
Because Atiku has won, it begs the question whether he should drop. And
no, that's what I'm saying. The party is now some members in the South who you say they have made agreement with Wike, Bodejo, are saying let him come down now, which tosses away your statement that there was an agreement between the northern part of the party and the southern part of the party. The southern part are saying, you should step down, and you're saying no. You should not step down now. That means you want to do the wrong thing first and then do the right thing first. That's Machiavellian.
Bode George and Wike, how do these two people translate into the entire South?
There are major voices in the South. Don't you agree?
They are one is
in Lagos, one is in Rivers, one is in the Southwest, the Southwest leader.
So it is
the other one is a Niger Delta leader.
They are the major. To look away from the vice presidential candidate, to look away from other critical stakeholders from the South, I think is discriminatory to say they are major. They are one of the major, and in politics,
there are two. There are two major voices. Tell me two voices, two voices that are bigger than Wike and Bode George in the South in your party. That are bigger.
Unfortunately for you, in our party, we don't rate based on who is bigger, who is smaller. Everybody is equal. That's why we call it equal opportunity.
You cannot be equal. You cannot be equal. Don't kid me. Don't kid me, Mr. Boala. You cannot be equal. As you are now, you're not even equal to Dino Belay who heads your information team. So they are hierarchies.
Nominated a vice presidential candidate without a consultation. And that's why they are buffeted with problems as we speak. 20 states have parallel executive, former contestants in the presidential primaries.
I have one more question. Some people have said that the reason that Wike did not win the presidential primaries was because he was a southerner and that he was Christian, and that northerners came together. The northerners in your party came together to make sure that they got Wike out of contention. And that's why Wike is bitter today in your party, and that you guys are talking about Christian, Muslim ticket, whereas you guys deprived the South of a Christian candidate.
So with due respect, your question is misplaced. Why? Because you say some people. I would have loved to address reality. When you say Wike...
No, but we experienced it. We experienced it that there was a last minute juggle in the primaries in which Wike was heading for victory, was going to beat Atiku.
By anybody. Okay, was there not a last-minute juggle where the governors in the north came together and said power should, in APC, power should go to the south, and they voted as Asiwaju? It was a last minute.
Yes. But that was because of an agreement. That was because of an agreement of politicians and stakeholders in the south that presidency must come to the south, in which your vice presidential candidate Okowa hosted, and people are now saying that he is a traitor because he hosted a meeting in order to take advantage of it. That's why the northern governors came together in the APC to say the thing should go to the south. So it was not a last-minute thing. Your own was last minute, was not even last minute. It was last second twist.
But you can see that when I respond on facts and not conjecture. But your own is conjecture. So
what's conjecture? There's no conjecture. The parties, the APC governors came together. There was a meeting of governors of the South. There's no conjecture there. And Okowa hosted it. There's no conjecture there. Okowa betrayed them. There's no conjecture there because he's the vice presidential candidate and the vice presidential candidate, so a northern president.
So if that is what you're saying, there were committees that sat and they deliberated the zoning, and these committees were duly constituted by the party. They made a recommendation; it should be thrown to the open, and it was contested, and Atiku won. So what's the problem?
All right. Yeah, all right, Dr. Boala, standing on this,
I made my point.
Yeah, Dr. Boala, let's look at some of the realities in the party right now. One would say that there is no love lost between your presidential candidate and Governor Wike, who is one of the leaders of the party in the South. When it comes to moving forward and reconciliation, what are you looking at? What has been done to bring these people together? Because everyone knows that the South is a stronghold of the PDP, which they have to lean on to add to their pursuit towards winning elections.
My brother, permit me to say that I really respect you for having a top-notch question on issues, but this is my response. You're right that there is a relationship between Wike and Atiku. In politics, Atiku, remember, Wike came second. And when the recommendation was made and 3 names were submitted, Atiku chose Okowa over Wike. Of course, naturally, he felt bad. These are not out of the ordinary. And then now conversation is ongoing on how they will deal with the problems, the differences, and see how they can consolidate so we can move forward. The good thing is that about a week ago, they had a sit-down, a face-to-face sit-down at the residence of one of the politicians of the party, where they agreed in principles that they will go ahead to resolve that. It is called alternative dispute resolution. It's part of democracy and constitutional process. And having had those meetings, now they are developing from that meeting further conversation around the demands of various individuals to see how they can incorporate that. And I can tell you that as it stands today in APC, that is the only issue, if I may say, the press will be interested in knowing, that's the only issue confronting the party, and already the process towards mending faces is there. On the contrast, the problem confronting APC is about 7, and they're existential problems, that after they lose this election, the party will be fragmented and destroyed. 20 states have parallel executive, and they are threatening. This is from the chairman of the party who said, the presidential candidate right now, there is an agitation in the Northeast by a coalition that the flag bearer of the vice presidential candidate must be dropped. There was equal agitation by the Northwest that the vice presidential candidate must be dropped. And then yesterday, a coalition by the North Central, Middle Belt, they call themselves, they said the vice president must be dropped. Former governors and present governors are also complaining that they agreed with Asiwaju to choose a vice presidential candidate from the Northwest, and he bypassed them to the Northeast. Therefore, he's going to pay for it. Then all the
Dr.
candidates
Boala,
that contested...
Dr. Boala.
Right? You have evidence of what you have just said. What is your evidence?
What is your evidence?
About the fact that Northwest governor said they wanted it and they are not happy with him.
What is your evidence with some people say, some people say?
No, answer my question first. Don't turn this into
No. Among the panels that are seated, the other 2 colleagues of yours are actually asking questions like journalists. You are talking about...
You are uncomfortable with my questions. You are uncomfortable with my questions because they hit you the wrong way.
You cannot
answer the questions.
Dr. Boala.
That you are playing the role of another guest rather than a journalist asking the question.
I'm asking you a question that a journalist should ask you. You don't want to answer them.
I have not asked any of your colleagues questions.
Dr.
The reason
Boala.
I have not asked them is because they asked me questions on the basis of issues. So we had engagement. In
Dr.
your own
Boala.
case, I know it's a fellow debater that I have.
I'm only challenging a question, a point you made. You said Northwest governors said that Asiwaju should take from them, and so they are angry with him. I said, what's your evidence? And you're saying that I'm asking you a long question.
Mr. Masai, the trouble...
Dr. Boala, I'm afraid we have to end this conversation. We have to end this conversation, Dr. Daniel Boala, spokesperson of the presidential campaign for the People's Democratic Party. Dr. Boala, apologies, we have to end this conversation. We thank you very much for speaking with us on TVC Breakfast, and hope to bring you back some other time for more discussions. However, you said earlier in the first question we asked you that you were open to all manners of questions, which were asked from all of us to unearth the truth.
But
And of
Omasaye
course, bearing in
wasn't
mind that the PDP
Omasaye
also
is a
has
fellow
its
debater
own
like me.
crisis that it has to manage. Thank you so much, Dr. Boala. We'll bring you back up some other time to field questions from us on topical issues.